If you're running any kind of marketing right now, whether it be Facebook ads or Google or door hangers or anything, I want you to hear something pretty uncomfortable. You are probably sitting and paying for leads that you're just not closing at all. Not because your leads are bad or not even because the price is wrong. It's because you just aren't handling them the right way. And in essence here, that's not really a marketing problem. That's a sales problem, and it's costing you money that you already spent to generate those leads. Now, I close hundreds of inbound sales calls at Tiger Shark, and the single biggest difference between operators who convert at 20% and operators who convert at 5% has nothing to do with price or even service quality. It ultimately comes down to whether they had the confidence to ask for a yes at the end of every conversation. And in this video, I'm going to give you the complete framework, word for word, from hello to a signed contract. But before we do that, let's talk about why most calls actually fail. Here's what the broken version of a call looks like. And this is the kind of stuff that I hear most often. Your phone rings, a customer says they're looking for pool service. The operator immediately explains everything about their company, how long they've been in business, what chemicals they use, how often they come out and service the pool. Now, the customer on the other end of the phone is going to listen politely, ask for your rate, the operator's going to give a rate, there's going to be a pause, and then the customer says that they're going to think about it, hangs up, and never calls back. Now, here's what went wrong. The operator talked about themselves instead of the actual customer. They ended up giving their rate before they established any value with that person, and they never asked for the business at the end of the call. And the framework that I'm about to give you fixes all three of these issues, and we're going to outline this in 4 simple stages. Stage 1 is your tone and your energy. Before we get into what to say, I want to talk about something that most people skip entirely. And this is how you actually sound on the phone. Tonality is everything on a phone call, especially a sales call. The customer cannot see you. All they have to work off of is your voice. And usually, within the first 10 seconds of a phone call, they've already decided whether they like you or they don't. Now, I've heard a lot of sales calls, and most operators pick up the inbound calls sounding completely flat and transactional. Like this call is just one more thing that they have to deal with after a long day on the route. That energy that you bring into the call transfers immediately, and it kills the sale before the conversation even starts. So, the fix here is simple. Before you answer, take a breath, smile. Literally smile before you pick up the phone. It changes the way your voice sounds and the customer feels it on their end. Additionally, show up to every call like you genuinely want to help the person on the other end. Because remember, the customer is not just evaluating your price. They're deciding whether they trust you, they like you, and they want to work with you. They're deciding whether you are someone they want coming to their house every single week and servicing their pool. So, get the tone right. It matters more than you think. Stage 2, this one is super important. The qualifying questions. Now, I've summed this up into 4 questions and in this specific order for a reason. Starting with question number 1. What has got you looking for pool service right now? The answer to this is going to tell you their urgency and more about their situation. They might be frustrated with their current pool guy. That's a warm lead. They might be a new homeowner. That's also a warm lead. They might also be the seasonal customer who handles the pool themselves during the off season and then wants your help in the summer. That to us was a red flag. We like to catch it early. The next question, what has been frustrating you about your current situation? And if you listen closely on this one, this is where the customer is going to tell you exactly what you need to do to sell them. If they tell you that their pool guy never communicates, your pitch is going to be about communication. They tell you that their pool kept turning green, your pitch is going to be about chemistry and water management. Use this question to let them tell you what it is that you need to say to close them. Another one is, what is most important to you in a pool service company? Same principle applies here. Let them give you the blueprint. Whatever they say, whether it's reliability or communication or professionalism, you address it directly before you give them an actual rate for service. And this is a big one too. What have you been paying for service? This tells you if you're walking into a price conversation before you give your number. Now, for example, if they've been paying $90 and you know that you charge $150, you know that gap needs to be bridged first. Don't rush these. The operator who listens for 3 minutes before talking about themselves will always close at a higher rate than the one pitching in the first 30 seconds. Stage number 3, the value pitch. You have asked the questions, you've listened to the customer, now you pitch them directly to the information that they just gave you about them. So here's the formula to that. First, acknowledge what they said. Connect it to what you do, make it really specific. If communication is their priority, you can say something like, That is something that we're really intentional about. After every service visit, you're going to get a message telling you exactly what we did, how your pool's looking, etc., etc. You will never wonder what happened out there in your backyard. If their issue was that their pool kept turning green, you could say something like, "That is almost always a chemistry issue. We test and balance on every visit and flag anything before it becomes a visible problem. Green pools are completely preventable with the right maintenance in place." Now remember, you're not just giving a generic pitch about your services here. You are speaking directly to the frustration and connecting your service to the solutions that they need. Then, and only then, do you actually give out your rate. Our rate for weekly service is right around $150 a month. That includes all your basic chemicals, weekly maintenance, and everything that I just described. Now, when you give that number, it is important that you give it confidently. Don't apologize. Don't say it hesitantly. Do not offer the discount immediately if they start to give you a little bit of pushback. State your number like the obvious correct answer because that's what it is for your business. And stage number 4 is handling objections. This is where most of you guys give up entirely, and here's how you can handle every single one of them word for word. When the customer comes in and says, "That's a little higher than I expected," this is where you don't panic. And most importantly, don't lower your rate. This is almost never a hard no, and it's usually just a test. Your response can be something like, "I hear that a lot. The operators charging less are usually cutting corners somewhere, as you've probably seen with your current provider. What I described is what consistent professional pool service actually costs." The customers who try to save $20 or $30 a month almost always end up spending more down the road fixing problems that they didn't catch early. In summary here, hold your rate, justify the value, and don't fold on price. Another big one is, "I need to think about it." Here was my response. "I totally understand. What specifically is making you want to think on it? Is it the actual rate of service we offered, or is there something about the service you want to make sure fits your situation better?" Make them tell you the real objection. Once you know it, you can address it instead of waiting for a callback that likely is never gonna come. And another big one here was that they already had a pool guy and they were just shopping around. And this is actually one of the best leads that you can get because chances are they aren't happy with their current provider. Otherwise, they just wouldn't be calling. My response was always, "What's got you looking around for service then? Is there something specific your current service hasn't been delivering on?" Let them tell you what the current pool guy is doing wrong. Then, like we talked about earlier, connect every point about your service to how you do it differently from the things that are currently frustrating now. "Can you just email me some information?" My response to this was absolutely, but I want to make sure I send you the right information. Is there anything specific holding you back from moving forward today? Because if I can address it now, I would rather do that than having you waiting on an email from me at some point later today. The point of this response is to actually try to force the real conversation. If there's actually a genuine reason there, find it. And if there's not, you actually have a shot of closing it right now. Another one is them actually needing to talk to their spouse first. I didn't really try to push past this one. My response would look something like this. "Of course, when you think you'll have a chance to talk it over, I want to make sure that I'm able to follow up with you at the right time." Then you get a specific follow-up time, and your job is to call exactly at that time. The operators who do this close significantly more of these than the ones who call back whenever they remember, feel like it, or maybe even just get around to it. And lastly is stage 5, the close. And this is the most important part that most of you guys are skipping. And it is the reason most of your inbound calls just don't convert at all. Now, you've taken the time to go through the conversation, ask the questions, handled the objections. You've done this all directly, and there's no hedging involved here. Now you go in for the close. And for us, it was something like this. "Now, based on everything you've told me, I think we are a really good fit. I would love to get you started. Can we get you set up today?" That was it. It was simple, direct, and it came across with confidence. Most of the people who stayed on the phone through the qualifying questions, they heard the pitch, and they didn't walk away to an objection, are ready to say yes. They are just waiting for you to ask them. Now, if they do say yes at this point, get their information and send the service agreement over immediately. Do not wait until tomorrow or even later that evening. If they still are pushing and happen to say not yet, find out the reason why. There is always a reason, and it is almost always addressable right there on that call. All these factors considered here is what differentiates the operators closing at 20% versus the ones closing at 5%. The ones closing at 20% aren't necessarily smarter or more charming. They are just the ones that are able to follow a system and ask for the customer's business. Now, once you've done all the above and have gotten a yes, it is really important that you set expectations with the customer before you hang up the phone. Now, this can look different depending upon what you offer for weekly service, but for us, I let them know that they're going to get a service agreement in the next few minutes. Once that was signed, I'd set up their initial service date, work them into a route, and assign them a day of the week and a technician that would continue to service their pool. And after every service visit, they could expect an email recapping everything that was done in their backyard that day. And should they have any questions, to feel free to reach out directly to our customer service line. A customer who knows what to expect is a customer who's going to continue to stay with you. Now, in closing, I hope you all found at least some portion of this video to be helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more weekly content on building a killer pool service business. I'll see you in the next one.